Welcome to our clarity and focus session for today. Today we're probably going to talk about the one thing that is the thing that closes all your deals. If you get this thing, if you understand the philosophy behind this, the idea behind this, it's going to dramatically improve your conversions. You're going to make a lot more sales if you do this. You'll make a lot more appointments if you do this. You're going to get a lot more people who are going to refer to you if you do this. But this whole process, what I'm going to be sharing with you today, is around the concept of following up, right? So one of the things a lot of people do is they don't do enough of it. And so I'm going to go through a key series of strategies and tactics, things you need to take in consideration. And I'm also going to give you examples of some of the things you actually do to maximize your follow-up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your questions here. A whole bunch of people jumping on. Good to see you here. Going to be answering your questions, sharing strategy like we do every single day. So welcome and thank you for those who are regulars, the new people here. These sessions are what I'm trying to do is give you the exact tactical things, ideas, systems, processes on how you can maximize your opportunity to grow your business, your agency, or your consulting services. And so every day I come on here and answer questions, but more importantly, share some key tactical things that you can do and take away. We've had a lot of people who've been attending these sessions have actually been making sales and getting results, which is amazing. I really appreciate you for those people who are sharing, letting us know how they're going along with the ideas. We've seen a lot of sales. In fact, last month we saw more than $200,000 in deposits for sales just with a group of about 15 of my champions, over $1 million worth of contracts that was sold in April in the middle of lockdown and coronavirus, which is extraordinary. So at the end of the day, if we are consistent, if we're focused, if we get super clear about the offer we make in the market, if we're very clear about who will benefit the most from us, and we're also making sure that we're inviting people along, we're going to maximize the opportunity to actually generate a whole bunch more in terms of our business. So I have prepared some slides in my kitchen, did a little bit of cooking this morning at 4 a.m. this morning to prepare for this call. I'm going to go to those slides, share my screen, and then I'm going to be answering questions for you today. So we're just going to go over here and we're going to go and talk about the #1 conversion strategy. So, and the thing is, what I'm going to be sharing with you today, so it takes focus, but it also takes a level of discipline. And at the end of the day, if you understand what I'm sharing with you, all of you could probably go and close a deal today. If you've got an offer out there, or if you've been engaging somebody, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to get your client to take the next step. So if you've got offers that you need to follow up, what I'm going to offer to do is to help you craft your follow-up to convert the deal today, right? That's the whole goal of today. So #1, follow. Relentless, right? The thing you need to know, you need to understand, it takes 5 to 10 exposures to a prospect before one sale is made. That should be 1, that's not an I, right? Before one sale is made. It takes 5 to 10 exposures to a prospect before a sale is made, right? Let me just fix that baby right in the middle of the presentation. That should be the #1, right? Before a sale is made. So a lot of us tend to be very impatient, right, with prospective customers in the market. So think about making an appointment, right? If I'm going to make an appointment, sometimes I'm going to have to follow up 3 to 5 times before I can actually make an appointment. So some people, what they do is they try once, don't make an appointment, they move on to the next person. They try once and move on to the next person. If you're on yesterday's training, I talked about how you create the flower, the butterfly effect around a particular customer. So if I want to generate an appointment with a customer and I want to really get to that appointment as quickly as possible, what I'm going to do is going to text, email, pick up the phone and call them, message them on LinkedIn, see if I can do a voice drop, right? Or a voicemail drop. The idea is to get them on the phone. So you have to touch people often, right, to be able to engage. They've got to see your name everywhere before they start going, oh, we need to talk to this guy. And I'll give you a classic example of this. A guy called Vito Perinello taught me this years ago. He's an awesome sales guy. He's what we call a rainmaker. A rainmaker is a guy that makes $500,000, multi-million-dollar deals. That's what these guys do. They're big deal players, right? But one of the things that Vito taught me was he said, listen, John, you need to create the momentum and create the structure so that there is a desire for the person to listen or connect or want to talk to you. And so one of the ways to do this in larger organizations is to actually send the same message to all the stakeholders, all the C-level executives, and then let people know that everybody's got the same message, that they have to actually read this because the CEO's got the message, the CFO's got the message, the CIO, the CTO, all the people at the C-level, right? Managing director, marketing director, everybody's got the same message, right? So if you imagine what this looks like, right? You send an email, and on that email is, this email has been, you actually write, right? This email has been forwarded to, or these are the people who have this email, and you just name the names in the company, right? Everybody's got the email, and it might be talking about a specific aspect or something you provide in the market. It might be even to introduce yourself to the opportunity of sitting down and looking at some form of strategy or tactic with a company. But if everybody knows that from the CEO all the way through that everybody's got this email, what sometimes happens is that email becomes a line item on an agenda in a meeting. Who is this John Logar guy? Oh yeah, I got an email from him the other day. I thought that email came from you. So all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 people mentioning your name or talking or seeing your name in an environment. And so what will happen eventually when you do something like that is the CEO will say, let's get the guy on the phone. Somebody reach out to John and let's talk to him, right? So it takes 5 to 10 exposures. So I want you to think about a sales process, right? So we initially we might send an email, they might come to an ad, they see a landing page, or they respond to your email. You get on the phone, have a quick chat, say, hey, are we a fit? That's the second exposure. So the email is the first exposure. The second exposure, you're having a chat, right? Let's go one further. The first exposure might be the ad or might be the email. The second exposure might be your landing page or it might be your appointment schedule. The third exposure is you getting on the phone having conversation. The fourth exposure is in that third exposure, it's you filtering that phone call. The fourth exposure is you doing discovery, right? We now set an appointment. Let's do discovery. So the fourth is discovery. The fifth exposure might be a let's just clarify some of the answers to the questions. The sixth exposure is your presentation, is your sales presentation. The seventh exposure is you following up, right? Or perhaps providing extra information for them to take into consideration, right? The eighth exposure is, again, you making sure that they're okay with what you're doing and will you go ahead. And it might be an agreement that you send. It might even be an invoice. The ninth exposure, right, will be, again, a follow-up of some call, an email, a phone call, right? And so by the 10th time, they've had 10 touch points with you. They've seen your name, they've seen your interaction in that microcosm of space 10 times. So now they get to know you. They know your name, they know what you do, they know what you sell, they know your price point, right? So what you've done is you've built the momentum and the strength of the relationship in the way that you follow up, right? So it takes 5 to 10. Nobody's going to sell. Like, anybody sits there and says to me, nobody knows me, they're going to give me $30,000 a year to do their Facebook ads. That is absolute rubbish. Anybody tells you that, look the other way, walk away, right? Because that's bullshit. Nobody's going to give you 30 grand. No one's going to give you 50 grand. No one's going to give you $100,000 on one freaking contact. It just does never, ever, ever happen, because you need to build that trust factor, right? We need to build a relationship. We're a service-based business. We're providing a service to the market. We need to build that trust factor. So that's why it takes 5 to 10 or more exposures before one sale is made, right? Next, be prepared to do whatever it takes to get to the 10th meeting, right? Be prepared to do whatever it takes to go through. People give up way too soon, right? If I can touch people in multiple modalities to get them to an appointment, I'm going to do exactly the same thing to confirm the appointment. I'm going to do exactly the same thing to make sure that they're very clear. Are we going to help each other? Can we help you? Are we in business, right? You need to think about all the things you need to do. So we've got a person here chit-chatting away. Adam, I'll answer that question for you in a moment, right? I'll answer the question for you in a moment. So be prepared to do whatever it takes to get to the 10th meeting. Really, really clear, right? Follow up with ideas and smart questions. Don't follow up and say, hey, I just want to touch base with you. If you're going to follow up, give people another idea or ask a very clear or specific question that you need to answer to. You might sit and say, hey, look, I've been touching base with a whole bunch of people. This has come up on a regular basis. Is this something that's really relevant to you, or is it something that really isn't relevant? Ask a smart question, right? I've seen this. How important is this to you? You know, that's a smart question, right? Or why is this important to you? I'm seeing this. Is this something that is popping up on your radar? Why is this important, right? Asking good, smart questions in your follow-up is a very powerful way. Just saying, hey, I'm just touching base and following up, wasting people's time, right? That's not going to work for you, right? Ideas, always follow up with ideas. So if I want somebody to get on a call with me, I'm just going to keep sending them ideas. I'll give you an example. John, one of my a long-time client, right? Been around for a long time, become very, very good friends, right? And here's his comment about me, right? He'll say, John, you're the only person that I know that comes to me with ideas. Everybody else I know comes to me with rubbish, with pitching, with offers, with all this sort of stuff, but you are the only person in my life that has always come to me with an idea, right? You're the ideas guy. Now, if you're the ideas guy, that means that you're the instigator of opportunity, right? So you want to be the ideas guy, the ideas woman, or right, which whatever gender, right? We can go all the genders if we want to. You want to be the ideas person for the market. So if I'm following up, I've always got a new idea. If I'm following up even pre to a consultation, right, I'm saying, hey, I've sat down, worked out some numbers. I came up with this thing where I think with a really small conversion rate, we can add another 6 or 7 figures. Remind me to tell you about that tomorrow on the call. Idea. Right? Hey, I looked at this thing and I noticed that there's a really big mistake in the way that you follow up your sales. Something you might want to consider. Here's a simple idea to do that. Idea, right? Always follow up with ideas or follow up with smart questions. Don't follow up just for the sake of following up, right? You've got to have the ability to reignite the connection between you and the prospect. That's what you've got to do, okay? So, your follow-up habits and skills are responsible for 80% of the sales you make. 80% of the money that you're going to bank in your bank account is going to be totally driven by your habit and your follow-up skills. 80% of the money is going to be down to the follow-up. The other 20%, you're going to close the deal on the spot, right? If you can, right? But more importantly, like I said, this is where the money is. Most salespeople, they're lucky if they follow up once. Right? The conversion rate to a sale dramatically increases the more times you follow up. And here's the thing, remember it says it takes 5 to 10, right? On average, right, the sales guys that follow up, or the people who do sales that follow up at least 7 times, 80% of the sales are made between time 7 and time 12. 80% of all sales are made between the 7th follow-up and the 12th follow-up. That's where 80% of all the sales. Most people follow up once, and a lot of people don't follow up at all. I don't know why they don't follow up at all, but they just don't, right? Too busy going to the next quote. There is so much business, and here's a pointer, right? If you've got clients and you're doing lead gen, and they only convert a percentage of those clients, my thing would be to say, listen, we need to put in a process and a structure to be able to nurture those other people that didn't decide to do something now, to get them on the phone again or as quickly as possible. So you can set up automation and automated follow-up to go and follow up those people in the marketplace, right? Understand that this is key because it's a relationship building piece that most people forget. Remember, you're asking people to trust you with thousands of dollars of their money to deliver a result, right? So if you are a person that shows up, if you are the person that follows through, you're going to get the sale. I cannot tell you often enough, I've had people where I followed up for 18 months, boom, sale. I've had deals, $1 million deals that I've closed because I followed up over 2 years to close that multi-million-dollar deal, right? Biggest deal I ever closed was a $7 million deal. Biggest deal. Took me just over 2 years to close that deal. 2 years to close that deal, right? Because a lot of things had to happen for somebody to hand over a check for $7 million, right? A lot of things had to happen, right? 2 years, right? Even for small sales, like $10,000, $20,000 sales, I've followed up for years, had people on my follow-up track over and over and over again. I'll guarantee you it works. It is a way to fill your bank account up, right? So next, follow up with self-discipline, right? So think about cadence, right? So if I was to make 10 prospect calls per day, that would force me to make 10 appointments. I would try and do 10 appointments a week. That's 50 outbound. 10 appointments is my goal, to make 1 in 5 are converted to an appointment, right? Make 10 follow-up calls per day. If I was doing 10 follow-up calls per day for my emails, for my sales presentations, my discovery calls, I'm going to make lots of sales. If you look at some of my champions, the reason why their calendars are full is because they follow up like crazy, right? They constantly follow up. I talk about Anthony, the guy that's got 60 follow-ups a day. 60 follow-ups a day. That's the guy that makes 1 sale per day, 5 sales per week, 20 sales per month, right? Selling Facebook ads, right? Follow-up calls, consistency. Make 1 presentation per day. The goal, make a presentation per day, 20 presentations a month, 5 to 6 sales easily, right? So what you measure, you can manage. This is really important. And this is why a CRM is really important, because a CRM will flag your follow-up for you. If you put a person in like a Pipedrive, a Streak, a HubSpot CRM, Active Campaign, if you're using a CRM, you want to use a CRM to flag. If you've sent out a certain number of emails, flag the follow-up, because what's going to happen is that in the morning, you've got all these calls that you're going to make. Right? Great. You got some time in the day. You got to bank these calls up, because tomorrow there's going to be a whole bunch of other follow-ups that you're going to do. But you're not going to be able to do that if you don't manage and measure what you do. And this is why a CRM is absolutely vital. So, number of calls made. How many calls you make today? These are the things you want to look at daily. How many conversations do you make today? Right? Number of follow-ups made. How many people do you follow up? How many appointments do you follow up? How many leads did you follow up? How many sales did you follow up per day? Right? Appointments, leads, sales. Appointments, leads, sales, right? Okay. Number of appointments made, the number of appointments made today, number of presentations that you made today, right? The number of sales that you made today. These are all things that you need to be following up, right? And the last one is the number of dollars that collected and banked today, right? The number of dollars that you collected and you banked today. Now, I have this thing called LAPS, leads, appointments, presentations, sales. LAPS, right? LAPS. Leads, appointments, presentations, sales, right? And so I want to track these every single day, because I can go back to the end of the week, and you can go back to the end of the week, and you can go, how did I go this week? What did I actually get done this week? What did I do to contribute to my sales this week? Because if you need income, then the only thing you need to do is focus on the activities that are going to directly put income in your bank account. And following up and making sure that you have that consistency, that's where you're going to win, right? Where you fail is if you don't make an offer. If you don't make an offer, you can't follow up the offer. If you can't follow up the offer, then you're not going to take the next step to whatever that part of that sales process is. So that you end up with 0, nada, nix, 9, right? Nothing, right? That's what most people do. Most people can go back. I can look in my calendar every week. I can go to my CRM, which I'm in every single day, and sit there and go, right, I got 15 phone calls I've got to follow up and make today. There are things that I've got to do. I can go and check my sales team and see how many follow-ups they have to do today. I can see how many sales they're going to make. I can see what their projections are, how many deals they've got, because I can see it all in a CRM. Right? So what you can measure is what you can manage. And if you sit there and look at the end of the week and say, great, I made 1 phone call on Monday, and I made another phone call or 2 phone calls on Tuesday, and then I'll sit there and say, well, how much money did you bank in your bank account? Nothing, right? That's why people in our business, it doesn't work, right? That's why it doesn't work, because there's no clear focus, pragmatic structure to maximize your opportunity to generate the sales. So what you can measure makes the sales. So the types of follow-ups, I'm going to break this down. We'll give you some examples and ideas for each of the types of the follow-ups, right? And the areas you need to be doing follow-up. So if you do these things, you're going to dramatically improve your ability to generate and convert sales. And then what I'm going to do is going to open up to questions. And if you've got deals out there, let's help you close those deals. Let's work out a follow-up strategy that's going to help you close the deal and get that person over the line. Right. So let's go. Initial customer engagement follow-ups. So this is the follow-up from if I'm sending from an ad to a autoresponder to get to my appointment, or this is me sending an email, following that email saying, hey, let's get on the phone, LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, text message, each of the modalities, even direct mail, even to the point of let me send you some mail, right? One of the things that I've done, just to give you a perspective, while I lubricate my throat here, one of the things that I've done that works really well, if I've met somebody, let's say, for example, I've targeted a company that I wanted to speak to. If I have met someone they've given me some time, I send a gift, right? The least that I would send is a thank you card. The least that I would send is a thank you card. Other times, what I would do is I would just say, hey, really appreciate the time that you've had. I appreciate you shared some cool stuff. This is one of my favorite books. And so this is just a thank you for your time. Just thanking people, like following people back up for a conversation or a phone call where they've perhaps shared something with you. I cannot tell you that I'll give you an example of how this worked. There was a company that I wanted to work with. They were a printer cartridge company. They were a really big company. They grew very fast. And I wanted to work. I was a fan of the owner of that business because this business was one of the fastest growing businesses in the country. It was one of the fastest growing businesses at the time. The company grew really, really fast. And the average sales guy was making like $200,000 in commissions. So this company was very aggressive, was very focused, and it was fast growing. And I wanted to work with that company, but to work with that company, I had to engage the managing director of that company, right? Now, it took me, what did it take me? It took me 3 months. It took me 3 months to go from the initial contact to the time that I could work with the company. And I'll explain exactly what I did. And by the way, when I engaged, when this company hired me, they hired us for 180 grand. It was 180 grand to do email marketing for them. $180,000 to do email marketing. Yes, you heard that correctly, right? So here's what I did, right? CEO's name was David, and so I saw that he was in the top 100 fastest growers in the country for his business. But the more I looked into this business, the more I liked the story. I like the fact that they were very customer-centric focused. In fact, their customers built this business. This is a printer cartridge company that went from zero to like $30 million in revenue in the space of like 2 years, and outperformed major players and major providers in the country. Right, major players. They outperformed Xerox. They were outperforming the major office copier guys, right? So they were huge. They got huge, and they got huge very fast. Very sales-centric driven country, right? So I did some research. I did some research on the managing director. Did some on previous companies he owned. I did some research on the company, what they did. Looked into their website, rang their marketing people, jumped on their mailing list, right? And so then I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Dave, look." First of all, super excited about the level of growth. I've never seen a company that's applied so many key factors that's had significant contribution to the sales and the growth of the organization. So I just wanted to reach out and say thanks. By the way, I would love to be able to spend some time, perhaps in ways that maybe I can add value to the organization. This is what I do. This is what I specialize in. This is just a brief introduction, but I just want to say hi. That was my first approach. It was not an offer to work. It was just, is there a way that we can connect somehow, right? Now, eventually, I was part of an association, it was called the American Australian Chamber of Commerce, and they were an export-based company, and I knew because I found out that he was going to the particular event. So I rang the organizer and say, can you sit me next to David? Like, I know this is a crazy question, but if I can't sit next to him, can you make sure that you introduce me to him because you know who he is, right? They're the organizer, the host, they know the people that come, he's a recognized person. Can you introduce him? So that's where I met David for the very first time, right? Met him for the first time, and in fact got to sit next to him, right? So we had a bit of a chat. Say, hey, love what you're doing, love the site, love the people, love the culture, an amazing story. I mean, at the end of the day, where did it all start? So we're just asking questions. So in that conversation, because we were there at lunch for 2 hours, all I did was just ask questions, and the questions were, just let him talk about himself. Let him talk about, what he believes, his philosophy. And I was just soaking all this up. And then what I did was, I sent him a card. I made a mock-up of a card, and it was a card that basically stated all the awards that this company had won. So it was the company name and then all the awards. And then inside the card, what I wrote is I would like to fill another card with awards with you. I know that with our skills, with what we do, with how we engage and how we can actually generate better client outcomes, I would love to be able to work on a project with you so that we can fill a second card of awards. If you want to know more, let me know. So this was a card. So I sent that to him. Hops on the phone, like gets this card and literally picks up the phone. So I just got your card. Love the card, right? That was awesome. So this was like a, you know, like a greeting card, right? Love the card. This was awesome. Let's get together, right? So then we sit down and we just start talking, right? And I said, look, at the end of the day, what do you think needs to happen? What do you think the things are important? What are the things that must, if we're looking at what the now is, what the medium term is, and what the long term is, right? What do you think must happen in these three areas? And I listened, and I pretty much recorded that conversation. And then I went back and I said, I fed back to him exactly what he told me he wanted, and said, this is how we're going to do each phase, right? So his words were, let's do it, right? That's his words. As soon as I got that back to him, I even put a price in this and look, this is what the investment is at this level, but at the end of the day, this is where your ROI points are. If we don't hit the ROI points, you don't pay, right? If we don't hit the ROI points, you don't pay, right? And so he thought that was a pretty good deal. Now, we knew that with a 1% conversion rate, we were going to freaking smash this out of the park. But he said yes. Now, so if I think about that, that was 5 engagements 5 times before he agreed. He sat there and I spent that time with him. In fact, I think I spent 4 hours with him in total, right? To open the door to saying, we've got to work together, right? And then he said, yes. And so we got to work together. We smashed the park. We filled the whole other card for the awards. And then he went and sold the company to a competitor, which was pretty amazing. His company was taken over by Xerox, right? So understand that your initial engagement follow-ups, right? You can get creative, right? You can get creative at doing this. But my thing is, what I like to do is I like to pick the companies that I want to work with. I pick the companies. I'm choosing you. The best book that is ever written on this strategy is a guy called Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine. If you go and if there's one book that I highly recommend from a business development book for generating clients, it's The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, ChetHolmes, Chet Holmes. Brilliant guy. Used to work with Jay Abraham, worked with Fortune 500 companies, used to develop their sales process, and he pretty much outlines the entire sales process. We built part of our business on that strategy of what Chet put together, and we generated an amazing amount of revenue from that outcome. But your initial customer engagement and your follow-ups really key, because this is the relationship building. This is where they get to know your name, they get to see your brand, they get to see a little bit about you, so that the idea is to take the next step to build that trust. Go, hey, let's get on the call, right? So indoctrination sequences, I've talked about this in previous trainings, but all of you should have an indoctrination sequence. What an indoctrination sequence is to have the best way to do this, have a landing page, either on an email, have things like frequently asked questions, how we work together, the results that we get for our clients, our methodology, what we do as a methodology. You want to provide that level of information so that people at least understand more about you, what you're all about, and who you are, to make maximize your opportunity to generate sales. So indoctrination sequences you can even put on a landing page. So we put them on thank you pages. When somebody books an appointment and they hit submit, it takes them to a thank you page, and then it says, hey, thanks for doing this. By the way, there's 3 or 4 things that you can take advantage of here. Join the Facebook group. Jump into, grab this, download this PDF or this ebook, and by the way, watch the video below, or watch the videos below, because it'll show you other people who've used our services and how they've benefited. And then what we have is we have frequently asked questions. So we have about 16 frequently asked questions on our indoctrination page. How do I do a frequently asked questions? I hired a friend of mine. I was in New York City. You don't have to get this elaborate when you do this. I was in New York City. I got a filmographer, a videographer, and friend of mine, and we just literally went to different locations. We were in the middle of Times Square with 1,000 cars and blaring traffic, and I was answering the frequently asked questions in different locations. And so these were like 1 minute, 2 minute videos, 1-2 minute videos, very easy. But it's really interesting that those videos are very watched quite often, and when people come to me and say, John, you've answered every question in my head before I got here. I know I need to do this. It literally sells them, right? It eliminates all the roadblocks, all the issues, all the questions right up front. So having an indoctrination sequence that people can go to in your follow-up sequence, very powerful. This is where you put it in between your appointment and your strategy session. So where you're going to do a presentation, you want to have an indoctrination sequence, whether it be on email or whether it be on, like, do a landing page, thank you, video, watch some case studies, testimonials. Here's our methodology. This is what we do. This is how we help people grow their business. Have an indoctrination sequence. It'll dramatically improve your conversions. Pre-consultation follow-up. So I used to do this. Whenever I forget to do this, my conversion rate would drop. So a pre-consultation follow-up is after discovery, before the strategy session, your pitch. After discovery, before your pitch. This strategy is a game changer because what it does is it's just one more touch point that refocuses the client on why they're sitting down with you at the presentation stage. So here's an example of a pre-consultation follow-up, right? So if I've had a whole bunch of questions and I've got all the thing, and they give me the objectives and they've given me their why it's important, and they've given me all the roadblocks that are stopping them to hit the outcome they're looking for, I will pick one thing, and it might be something in the roadblock, or it might be something that's related to the objective. But I'll pick one thing in the pre-consultation follow-up, and generally I try to make a phone call or at least leave a message. So here's an example of a pre-consultation follow-up. I'll sit there and say, hey, thank you for answering all those questions. Got a lot out of that. By the way, I sat down and did some numbers, and I found by making one adjustment in your conversion area that we might be able to add about $30,000 to $50,000 a month in extra revenue. That's going to add between $360,000 and $600,000 of revenue to your business. Please make sure that you remind me tomorrow in our meeting to tell you about that strategy. Please make sure that you remind me tomorrow about that thing. And guess what? The first thing they want to talk about is, hey, remember you dropped the phone call. I just want to remind you about that thing you said about the conversion thing. Make sure you cover that today, right? So all I'm trying to do is be very relevant to why we're here, right? If it's a roadblock, is say, hey, just remind me tomorrow. I actually realized one of the things that's holding you back from hitting that outcome objective. I'm going to show you really easily how we can eliminate that. So just remind me about that tomorrow. Pre-consultation. This is what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to be. This is why you want to show up. Very powerful strategy, right? So next one, closing the sale follow-up. So not everybody's going to buy on the spot, right? Some people will, right? They will. In our case, it's generally between 20 and 30%. I would say more around the 20% mark, where people give us the money, give us the credit card, pay on the spot right now, then and there. Right? That's about 20% of people do that. The balance will have to have a follow-up, right? The balance is, we might have, hey, you need to clarify the agreement. They'll say, have the invoice. I like to have the invoice ready on the call. I like to have the agreement and the invoice ready on the actual presentation. One of the closes we do is very simple. Is it okay if we walk you through the agreement that we have with each other to make sure that we fulfill your objective and outcomes? Go, yes, great. So let me walk you through the agreement. This is what you agreed to. This is what is included in your process. You need to initial there. We'll initial here, right? And at the end of that, anything else you need to know? You cool with that? They go, yep, great. Sign here. And they sign the agreement on the spot. On the call, right? Then I say, good. What we need is the initial installment. Take care of that. Pull out the best credit card that you get the most points or reward points from. Use that card, right? Amex, Visa, whatever it is, right? And so I've got an invoice for you ready right now. Here's the link. So we use PandaDoc, or we use DocuSign, or we'll use, you can have a link to Stripe, right? Or we'll say, hey, I'll take the credit card over the phone. I'm just going to put that thing in here, best email. Now, when I hit submit, this is going to take you straight to the invoice. The invoice is going to hit your box straight away, right? So I want to close the sale on the spot. Now, if I don't close the sale on the spot, then I'm going to follow up. Now, your follow-up, 24 hours to 48 hours. Anything after 48 hours, you can forget about it. Anything after 48 hours, you're going to minimize the chance of you closing the deal, because after 48 hours, 75% of everything you've told them is gone. They're back in their business. They're dealing with their employees. They're dealing with sales. They're dealing with customers. They're putting out fires. They've forgotten everything about you, right? You are out. So 24 to 48 hours, here's how you do it. At the end of the call, if they sit there and say, great, I understand you've got to review the agreement or whatever, I get that. So what I'm going to do is, can we make a call tomorrow? 11 o'clock for you, okay? Or 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Which time would you prefer? And they'll go 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Or you might say, look, we can do 3. I can look in my calendar right now. we can do 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, or we can do 11 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. Which would you prefer? Oh, 11 o'clock on Thursday, 48 hours, right? 2 days. Now, when you say this, you can say, great, I'm going to send you an email to follow up. I'm going to give you an outline of what we talked about. You're going to get that. But more importantly, I'm going to send you an email to confirm the appointment, and I will be there tomorrow. So can you just put that on your calendar right now while we're here? Put that down. Awesome. You got it? Great. Thank you. Right. So now I'm going to send an email. There has to be a communication, because remember, they're going to forget overnight what you talked about. So you need to do a little bit of reminding. By the way, here are the key points of what we talked about. Here are the important things. Really looking forward and very excited about working with you. I'll see you at 4 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock tomorrow. Boom. Automatic follow-up, right? Then you want to make sure that there is an email or a text message or something to confirm the appointment, right? Just before, hey, we're going to be meeting in an hour. Looking forward to seeing you there, right? Then you want to take the next step in the process, right? And you're going to have the call, right? And you're going to ask the questions, and you're going to say, hey, let's answer your questions. If there are any objections, we want to clarify, and we want to ask that person to buy. You're going to have to ask the person to buy at least 7 to 10 times. You're going to have to ask them to buy 7 to 10 times. So you're going to either do that in your presentation, or you're going to do that in your follow-ups, right? So the idea is to do that. Anything after 48 hours, they have forgotten. Anything after 48 hours, 75% of what you told them, they've forgotten. That means that you have to go back and reprise the things that you talked about. So you've got to get them back up to what they wanted, what their objective was, what their outcome was, what was holding back, and why it was important for them to hire you to solve that problem. You have to go through that again, because you've got to warm them up, right, in that thing. Because like I said, the only thing they'll remember or may remember is the price. And unfortunately, if people are buying you on price, then you've got the wrong type of customer, right? They should be buying with you on the value and the experience and expertise that you deliver to them in the marketplace. So closing the sale follow-up, really simple. 24 to 48 hours, you want to send an email to confirm, and send an email with an additional, like, just reiterate the hot points of what you talked about, right? And then we're going to say, we're super excited, we're looking forward to working with you. So have a proactive, positive impact, right? Nurturing the deal, right? Nurturing the deal follow-up. So this is where you've done a presentation, and somebody says next month, month after that, 2 weeks from now, all those sorts of things. If it's 2 weeks from now, you're probably going to have to send about 4 or 5 pieces of information between then and the time that you follow up that reiterates the important reasons as to why they need to hire you, why they want to hire you, what they need to hire you for. So you're going to have to nurture that relationship, share an idea. Hey, when we work together, here's some of the areas we're really going to zone in on to get better conversions. Hey, when we start generating those clients for you, we're going to put in automated follow-up to make sure we maximize the appointments, get those conversions. Hey, when we work together, one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to run some A/B tests to really fine-tune the offers and the message to the marketplace. So we're actually going to reduce your ad costs and improve your customer acquisition costs, so you can get a better deal out of this process. Hey, when we work together, so understand what I'm saying? You're going to you have to provide value all the way through that reiterates as to why they're going to hire you. This is nurturing the deal, right? One of the ways I like to nurture deals, especially if somebody said no, right? So there's three categories, right? There's, yes, I want to work with you, I'm going to sign up, you've got the sale. No, this is not for us, timing, all that sort of stuff. And maybe is a no. Hey, I'm interested, but right now in this moment, I just can't do it. Give us a week, give us 2 weeks, give us 3 weeks. There's always going to be another week and another month. There's always going to be another one. It'll never happen, right? So what you need to do is you need to nip it in the butt. I like to take a maybe into a no as quickly as possible, because it's emotional baggage. I'll give you an example. I had a champion who had an $80,000 deal, and this is what the client said to them. So listen, yes, we're cool with the investment. We're cool with everything. This was in December, and they're going to say, we're going to start this on March the 1st. On the 1st of March, we're going to start this program, right? 3 months, right? So he's sitting there, and he's done the right thing. He's done a little bit of nurturing. He's followed up. He's done all those sorts of things. But he's sitting there, and he's already spent the money in his mind that these people are going to start. They've told him they're going to start. They said, yep, March is a month, right? So he gets to March, and he gets to the month and says, you know what? Can't do this right now. We've got to do this some other time, right? And so he allowed himself to be strung along, not that the client was stringing him along. He strung himself along in that process, right? Understand nurturing the deal, right? Nurturing the deal is taking the deal to the next step. What is the next logical step to get a person started? That's what your follow-up needs to be. Hey, the next thing we need to do is this. The next thing we need to do is that. The next thing we need to do. So what is the next logical step to get the person? And sometimes the next logical step is going back to the beginning and reiterating the offer, right? Hey, things have changed. So for example, if you've got quotes, one of the things that I highly encourage you to do, if you want to go make sales quickly, is pull out all your quotes from the last 12 months, pull them all out. Go back to them and say, hey, you didn't buy this 12 months ago. You didn't buy this 6 months ago. Did you buy it from somebody else? What results have you gotten by implementing the strategy you're talking about? If you haven't implemented the strategies, are you interested in implementing the strategies? I'll guarantee you out of every 10 quotes that you've done in the past 12 months, you'll pick up a deal. There's a deal sitting there waiting for you to pick up, but you have to reiterate and go back into that relationship, right? So understand that you want to nurture the deal for the follow-up. So last one is nurturing your leads. The best way to nurture leads is give them results. I like to give case studies and money results to my nurtured leads. Hey, you said you were interested in increasing your business. Here's Joe. Look at his bank account, 30% increase in revenue in the last 3 months, applying the same strategies that we're going to implement for your business. If you want to go ahead, let me know. Let's go ahead. Hey, here's Mary. She did $180,000 in sales in the last 2 months whilst you've been sitting there. Hopefully you added 180 grand extra in your sales, because Mary has been applying our strategies and doing these things. And what we're doing is we're helping people like you to apply what Mary's doing to get the result. Are you interested? Are you interested? Are you interested? The best follow-up is idea and result. Idea and result. Hey, did this, got the result. Hey, snapshot, look at this. Cost per lead down to, we've halved the cost per lead because of a strategy. Right now, are you halving the cost of your per leads, right? So what you're doing is you're nurturing with an idea and then nurturing with a result. The best thing to send people, so one of the things that I've done is, let's say there's 6 months have gone by, and then what I would go and say, great, you know what, here's a trajectory, worst case scenario of what we could have generated in the last 6 months for your business, over and above what you do right now if you implemented this strategy. And then here's an example of somebody we actually did this for, right? So my question to you is, do you want the next 6 months to look like this, or do you want the next 6 months to look like that? Yes or no? Can we work together, right? I cannot tell you how many times people have gone, you know what, we need to do this. Yes, we need to do this, right? So nurturing leads, the best way to nurture leads, send case studies, send testimonials, send an idea, send what the thing was that got the result, right? If you were able to improve a conversion, actually have a valid, like where somebody says, hey, this is how much money to make. You'll notice on a number of the calls that we do, iteration of how you're going, what are you doing? Mark Jean here is had generated 5 sales in the last few weeks by applying the strategies that we've done, showing you or demonstrating to you that what I've been teaching you actually works and gets results. I shared a couple of days ago the results of our champions over the last month in April, in the middle of lockdown, where some people had closed 7 deals at $5K deal, $35,000 cash banked. We had one person pick up a $60,000 check deposit on a $120,000 sale. We had another person who closed 8 roofing deals for Facebook ads. We had another person who closed $8,000 cash in and picked up a $2,500. So understand the reason why I share that is to demonstrate to you that if you apply the ideas that I teach you, or you apply the methodologies that I share, that these are the results that will happen if you apply them. They won't happen if you don't apply them, right? So you can do exactly the same thing in nurturing your leads and nurturing your folks. Say, look, here's a demonstration. Don't take my word for it. This is their words. There's the proof, right? So if you want to do the same thing, then you need to do or engage what I'm sharing with you. So nurturing leads, nurturing follow-up is very, very key. So a whole bunch of ways in which you can do this. I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I just want to get into I want to get into the chats. So we've got your chats. Wow, a whole bunch of people here. Good to see you here. So Chris, how would you have handled what your champion went through and going from December to March? So I'm going to answer that question, Chris, in just a moment. Another one that Chris is saying, is the managing director or the owner of that printing company, how did you find out that David was going to be at the conference? Because I knew that they were a member of that particular association. I knew an event was coming up, so I asked if he was going. I rang his team and said, hey, is David going to the AmCham thing? And they went, yep, he's booked in to go. He's paid and booked in to go. So that's how I got the information, right? That verbal, email, voice drops. James, all of the above. Verbal, email, voice drops, LinkedIn Messenger, all of the above, to answer your question. How would you have handled your champion who went through going from December to March? So Chris is asking, when I talked about the champion who had a deal, $80,000 deal lined up, pretty much spent the money, the deal was on the table, we're ready to rock and roll, and all of a sudden, you know, got to that point and the guys went, no, we're not ready to do this. And so he sat there, thought, holy crap, right? I was banking on this deal because I'm going to drop, you know, 20 grand as a deposit, and all of a sudden now I don't have the deal. And guess what he forgot to do? Generate more deals in the meantime. He was looking at that deal as a meal ticket for that March month, and that was the wrong thing to do. He got emotionally caught up. He didn't have a deal. There was no deal on the table, right? They weren't committed to anything. They just said, hey, we're going to start then. But that's not a commitment. That's not an agreement signed. That's not a deposit signed. That's nothing, right? We ran one of the businesses that I had, we were in the tendering game. So we used to create professional RFPs. The RFPs we would create, these are proposals or what we call tenders for major projects, right? So you would have to, these are very legal documents, lots of you know, finance stuff, big deals. We're talking multi-million-dollar deals, right? And so I had a company that we used to write these proposals, these tenders for our clients, right? And we were so good at it that we had a 95% win rate to the table. That means a 95% you're in the top 3 to be considered for the deal. That's a big deal because the conversion rate on tenders is like 5%, right? So that's a huge deal. So our guarantee was we'll get you to the table. If we don't get you to the table, you don't pay. That was a big guarantee. But we had a 95% rate to get you to the table, right? So here's the thing. If we can get you to the table, that means you're into consideration. So we had a strategy where we actually separated you from the market, from the rest of the market. We had a strategy where we complied with the request for the tender or the proposal. And then our strategy was to add, right, an amended agenda that actually answered all the questions that they didn't ask or all the considerations that it didn't make in the original tender. So to make to get a better result, we added an amendment at the end of the thing. Now, this is what happens in this scenario. They go, great, all of these things are complied, but this one over here has added an addendum. So we need to review that addendum. So now they take our document and separate it from the other providers and have to read all the new stuff. So this is how we got lots of deals. Now, because we were so good at what we did, right, people used to say, well, we'd like to do this tender, it's coming up in 3 months' time. And we'll say, well, if we couldn't compete against our own tender. So we would sit there and say, well, you need to put a deposit down. So our first deposit used to start at $10,000. You need to put a $10,000 deposit down now, and in 3 months, we'll do that tender, right? So 10 grand now to hold us to do that tender. If they don't put the 10 grand down and they say, we'll get you to do it in March, we weren't going to do it. We were going to sell it to somebody else. We would go and chase who's going to do this tender, who can we help to win this deal, right? So they would put 10 grand down. Now, here's what used to happen. They would bank us so that we wouldn't submit the document. They didn't want to go for the tender, but they wanted to stop us from submitting so a competitor wouldn't get the deal. So that 10 grand we get to keep because they don't get, you know, that's money that they've banked for this thing. They're holding up on the tender. We used to keep that. And so companies were starting to do this to us to stop us from tendering on projects. So what we did was we said, great, it's now 100 grand. You want us to do the deal, it's 100 grand. If you don't, at number 6, at week number 6, prior to the tender, if we have not started this process, we keep the 100 grand and we will go and tender for a competitor. So we'll go and make another $100,000, right? So we had companies that would pay us to stop us from tendering. But again, the agreement was, even though it was projected out 2 months, 3 months, you had to pay now. You had to sign an agreement and you had to put the deposit now. And that's what I'm getting to here. You can take, if somebody says, we'll start then, great, let's sign the agreement now. And let's give me an initial installment and I'll hold that for the time that we start, just so we know that we're going to block that time for you. That's a way to minimize any impact. That's very quickly where you can start to get the stories out from people, right? So Mark is asking me, what do you share if you don't have any case studies or testimonials? Thanks for asking, Mark, because that's awesome, because a lot of people don't have testimonials and don't have case studies. And this is where somebody like Damien Papworth is. Where are you, Damien? Are you in here somewhere? I know you're here. This is where, and I'm going to bring Damien on in a second because I want to give us a bit of an update on what's going on. This is where you use. So there's two things that I would do. If I don't have any case studies, I will go and use a resource partner's case studies. So we had a web design, web development company. For 10 months, we didn't have our own website. Can you imagine? We built this thing to $1 million in revenue and didn't have our own website. We didn't have a website. $1 million website company, no website, right? We had a coming soon page for 12 months of this business, right? But what we used to do is we used to share the sites that our resource partner would build. And they would build amazing websites. So we'd say, hey, here's 5 examples of our team, the sites that we build for clients. Here's 5 examples of plumbing companies we build websites for. Here's 5 examples of professional services, financial planners, insurance, accounting. These are 5 sites, and here these sites are designed to convert. So we used to demonstrate them, not with our websites, but with the sites that our resource partner built. Now, they had a team of 39 developers and designers, and that's all they did all day long, and they were brilliant at it, right? In fact, they're still a resource partner that we use in Champions, right? They're amazing, right? And so here's the thing. So I didn't need to have the case study. My resource partner did. If I was using somebody like Damien Papp with the Global Toll Marketing, who's here on the call, right? Who says he's only got a couple of minutes, I'm going to unmute you in 30 seconds. He has case studies, examples that you can use to go out to the marketplace. So Damien, I'm just going to get you up here very quickly. Where are you, mate? Where are you, my friend? Here we go. G'day, Damien, you there?
Yes, John. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Look, you're a resource partner. You provide SEO, websites, Facebook ads, AdWords. Now you're doing LinkedIn as part of your service. You service hundreds of accounts all over the world. You've got over 200 people in your organization. So you've got all the experience. You've got the years of tenure. You know what's going on. But there are examples or there are things that you know that work. And obviously you provide resources and support to the people who use your services so that they can use those materials to be able to demonstrate that they have the capability based on the fact that you're doing delivery. Would that be true?
Yeah, so we've definitely got case studies and all that sort of information that can be used that are white label. Obviously, we've got to be very careful in release. I mean, everyone in our network is a competitor to each other, so we're very, very careful around the confidentiality side of the case studies and stuff like that. So we've all names have been removed and all that kind of stuff. So absolutely.
And I wouldn't. And by the way, you shouldn't be putting in that particular case when you're using a resource partner. I wouldn't be suggesting names or anything like that. If we can demonstrate with snapshots of results, if we can demonstrate with the word, law firm words, this is what they've said, or this is where they started, this is where they went to. A resource partner, a good white label resource partner can provide you with the tools and the resources to be able to help you with those conversion elements. One of the things that I don't know if you do this, Damien, but using resource partners, what I used to ask a resource partner is, whenever you got a great result with a client, can you just take a snapshot and send it to me? And then what I would do is I would take, white out, the client's accounts, all that sort of stuff. I would say, hey, here's a law firm right now that our team are getting amazing results for, and I would send it out to all the law firms. And if they were doing this every month, then all the law firms would just keep seeing result, right? And so this built a lot of credibility in delivering that service to the marketplace. So
we won't even give the name of the law firm though. That's obviously someone else's client, which isn't is confidential
I'm not
information.
Suggesting you would.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you got a great result or if you got the thing, you don't have to name the law firm. Just share the result, right?
Yeah.
And
cool.
so that's if I was using a resource partner, that's one way to do that. If resource partner couldn't provide that service, then I would approach it very differently. But one of the things I want to ask you, Damien, because I know you're going to go, how was last week? What sort of movement are you seeing, and what's changed?
Yeah, so I think the main thing from last week is we're still seeing a good number of new marketing campaigns coming on. So I think that'll happen more and more. We're seeing a good number of reinstatements of cancelled campaigns still coming on. I know the Australian government certainly is talking about relaxing a lot the restrictions to commerce and to lifestyle. That should give people a lot more confidence to continue doing it. One interesting thing that we've seen, though, is agencies are being challenged now. We've had 2 last month who pretty much left the industry, I think. They may come back, they may not. I kind of don't see any reason why an agency cannot survive. I mean,
Mhm.
I think agency is certainly one industry where we can get our expenses pretty much down to our time.
Yeah.
Give or take some exceptions with staff and things like that. There's no reason why we can't contain our costs for the next X months to get through this. So I found that quite interesting that two of our sort of the low end of mid-sized agencies have seemed to have pulled out of the industry completely and cancelled everything. But someone else will pick up that work. So.
Oh, that's exactly right. And I've seen that as well. I did a campaign about 4 or 5 weeks ago to larger agencies that are doing like, $5, $20 million in revenue, and I'm amazed at the number of those agencies have actually closed down. A lot of the big, medium players. When I say closed down, they're just gone. We're going to come back. We're going to see what happens when we get back, like when people get back. And it's like my first question then was, well, what about all your clients? What about them? And it's almost like they abandon their clients. Yeah. But yeah, I have seen that as well, where people have dropped out of the market. And to me, that's awesome, because what I'd be doing is chasing all those clients that those agencies left open, because those clients need help. They're still marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those clients are still in business, right?
Yeah.
So,
and what I'd suggest is, we sort of mentioned this last week. I don't think it's COVID specifically. It's COVID revealing pre-existing issues. So if there's areas in your business that you're battling with specifically at the moment because of COVID, really, have a bit of a deep dive into the issue as to whether it actually existed, whether there were decisions you should have made a while ago that you haven't made yet, and what you can do today to make sure at the end of it, you actually got a much stronger foundation.
Absolutely. Awesome, mate. Thanks for being on the call. I really appreciate you being on here. And thanks for sharing, because you're a litmus test in what's going on in the market, because of the fact you're dealing with so many clients, and it's great to have you. So I really appreciate the contribution, mate. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
All right, mate. So I'm just going to mute Damien there. So we've got a few questions here. Brian says, spend a good part of today's screenshotting GMB results, post product photos, and we'll add them to web page for proof to show on calls. Absolutely, Brian. That to me is part of indoctrination. That's a really good thing to do. Thanks, Damien. I really appreciate you hopping on. So having that idea of sharing the results that you generate for your clients on a page, even emailing that out to people, say, right now, this is a really important part of your business. If you're not visible in this area, you're missing out on 67% of the potential traffic of people who are specifically searching for your product in the market, right? So that way you can actually use that as a touch point to open the door to generating a sales opportunity. No, Ron, we have other resource partners in Champions that actually do that. Yeah, absolutely use it on email. So if anybody's got a situation where you're in a follow-up situation or you've got a deal, if you want to help you to craft your follow-up to be able to close the deal, just type in if it's I'm trying to get somebody on the phone. If it's I did this proposal and a couple of days ago or 30 days ago or whatever, and I want to close the deal. If you have any of that going on, let me help you here in this call. So if you've got a proposal or a deal or you're trying to convert, just type 1 if you've got a microphone, or even just type that in the chat here, and then we can talk about it. So if you've got something you want me to help you, I will help you craft to close a deal. So Scott Cooney, I'm going to unmute you, mate. Because I know you've got a microphone, so let me find you on here. There's a whole bunch of you here. Hey, Scott, you there?
Oh,
can you hear me, Scott? How you doing, mate?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I was speaking to a potential client today, a salon owner, and I told her I was going to put together a presentation for her. Have you got any advice about that?
So you've spoken to her. You've got a presentation together for her. So you made an appointment for the presentation?
Yeah, I said I'd get back to you in a couple of days with a presentation.
Okay. She set a time you're going to deliver the presentation. So my thing is in your questions or in your discovery to put that presentation together for her, you've got to really be clear about her objectives. Like, what do you want to do, right? Why is this important? What do you want to do? Because what you're going to deliver is bridging the gap from where she is right now to where she wants to be, right? So that's the most important thing. So one of the ways to dramatically improve the conversion of that sale is this is a salon owner, yeah? Salon, hair salon? Yeah. All right. So how much is what do you normally charge a salon owner for what you do?
2,000. I went through it with we worked out 5 clients a day, £500 a day. I think it was 6 days a week. Worked out to 12 grand a month, and I said to her, how much would you pay me if I could bring you 12 grand a month? Like, she said like settled on 2 grand, but she's like 9% near.
Sorry?
I said she's like 9% near, wants to go ahead with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So all you've got to do is you've got to sit there and say, hey, I just want to be really clear. This is the outcome. This is the gap. Here's what's going to happen, right? We're going to drive people to your salon. You're going to put them in the thing. The idea is we're going to get another 4 or 5 people into this salon, appointments in the salon. At the end of the day, is there anything else other than that we're clear on, right? That's what we want. Great. So here's our plan to make that happen, right? And so all we have to do is to get started on that plan. Yeah?
Yeah, simple, yeah.
So the best way to convert that is to make sure you reiterate what the objective is. You've anchored the price, you've anchored the result, you've anchored the price, right? So now it's like, hey, we're going to do whatever we can. We're going to make sure we're going to get the outcome. This is the plan. And at the end of the day, the idea is to keep you in front of this.
Yeah.
Right? So so you're saying if she's 90% there, right, that means you've just got to confirm with her why this is important and what her objective is, and then to say, right, if we don't do this, this doesn't happen, right? If we do this, right, we're going to dramatically improve the number of people coming to the salon. And number 2, we're going to build a database of customers who are interested in coming to the salon. So not only are we going to get the leads to get the people in the salon, but we're going to get a whole bunch of people and try and introduce them into your salon over and above what we're doing to get them in the door. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what you want to convey in your message. Okay?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, will do.
Any other questions?
Not for now, no.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being on here. I really appreciate you staying up so late in the evening.
Cheers, John. I'll let you know what happens.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. All right. Next question. So Zaf. Hey there, Zaf. How you doing?
Can you hear me, John?
Got you loud and clear, man. Give me your example. Give me the structure. Let me walk you through the strategy.
Yep. Okay. So yesterday on a job board, I saw a dental practice actually recruiting for a digital marketing specialist. So I just gave them a call. Spoke to I think it was the front desk manager. She gave me the email through to the hiring manager, which is the director. So essentially their situation is he's just acquired the practice. So they have no one on marketing. So they're looking to get someone to help them grow the practice. The information I got out of her was essentially, we want to build our Facebook presence. And we also want to rebuild our website. So what I did was I wrote up, I took that back, got his email, wrote up like an 8-page proposal on how Google Ads is the fastest way to get him out there into the marketplace. And I sent that through last night.
When did you send it through?
Last night, so around 7.
All right. Okay, where are they based?
They're based in Melbourne, so I'm in Sydney. They're actually looking for someone who can come into the practice and be there like a 9-to-5 job. That's the kind of curb I want to avoid. See if I can get them on board and just continue remotely.
So here's a curve that you avoid to avoid. The problem is that they're looking for one person that is a unicorn, right? They're looking for a person who's going to handle the social media, handle the management of the website, and all that sort of stuff. And they're looking for a unicorn. And unfortunately, they're not going to find a unicorn, right? The reason why is because they don't understand what is involved in that process. And it's going to cost them more money to hire that person. Plus, on top of hiring that person, they're going to have to spend even more money for campaigning and for running and all that sort of stuff. Having somebody in-house like that, right, especially somebody that's centric to the business, isn't going to work. It's going to be a hard ask. There's very few people that they'll be able to hire in the marketplace. So here's the thing. My thing is, do you want to save money, right? This is an offer. Do you want to save money, right? Do you want to have people who are on this all the time, looking at the 400 changes that Facebook or AdWords has made every year, right, to make this happen? So our team, right, instead of hiring one person, you get a team of 4 or 5 people, right? But you get a team of 4 or 5 people that are actually driving and delivering results consistently to get that outcome. So if I can save you that money and give you a better result than having somebody in-house that's going to cost you a lot of money, and more importantly, cost you in loss of sales, is it worthwhile us just having a chat about what that looks like? Because it's going to take you a while to hire somebody, anybody decent who can do this job. But we do this all day long, and we can do it cheaper than you can hire somebody. That's the pitch, right? So you said that you wanted this, you wanted a website, you wanted AdWords, you want your social media managed, right? At the end of the day, you're looking to spend between $50,000 and $70,000 for somebody who's actually decent at doing this and getting results at doing this. And at the end of the day, this takes somebody who has skills and who actually has results. And so our team, lots of skills, lots of results, less than what you're going to do to hire somebody to get a better outcome, better result. Let's just have a conversation, at least just have a conversation about what I've shared with you for your consideration, because at the end of the day, hiring somebody in may be very counterproductive, and it's going to take a long time to get that person up to speed. You won't see any results for 3 or 4 months if you hire somebody. What you want is you want results in the next 48 hours. We want to drive people to your practice to get in there, sit in the chair with you and fill your calendar up with patients. So if you're interested in at least having a chat about that, let's talk. Okay?
Okay.
That's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do, Zach. Right? So you've done an awesome thing. You've given him the whole thing, but now the time is, let's get on the phone, right? Hey, let's save you marketing money. Let's get the results now. Let's not wait 2 months, 3 months by the time you go through a hiring process. At the end of the day, the skills in this market, you need to have people who've had experience in delivering results. And what most people do is they look at social media and they look at it from the point of not results. They look at the wrong results. The right results you need to look at are the cash in bank. That's the type of social media, that's the type of marketing you need to do online. So if you're interested in seeing direct results, cash in bank, then that's awesome. If you want to see no results, cash in bank, no cash in bank, then hire a social media person. Right?
Okay. Yep.
That's what I would do. But yeah, nice, clever trick. I know I talked about, finding opportunities where a whole bunch of people are hiring digital marketers and social media people. That's a very fast way to have clients who need what you do. Okay?
Yeah. So wait, John, do I follow up in 24 hours, wait till tonight? Or should I just give a phone call?
No, just touch base and say, hey, I sent this through to you. Have a read of it. I'll call you back when you've had a read. Right?
Okay.
Have you got my email? This is what I put together for you. I explained the whole strategy. I wanted to introduce myself, but I've literally laid it all out for you to get results for your practice. But I'd love to, if I can contact you tomorrow or the next day, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. So Michael said, how much does a competent Facebook person make per annum, like one who works for resource partners who we outsource to? Well, a lot of our resource partners are using people in third world countries. So they're charging, they're probably paying anywhere between $750 to $1,000 a month per person in the resource partner marketplace. But in the real world, a social media person, depending on the type of company, anywhere from $70,000 a year up to $250,000 at director level for somebody who's at a direct level in company. So on average, you're looking at about 75 grand a year for a decent social media person, marketing person in a company. That's a lot of money, because to hire that person, they're going to pay at least $20,000 just to hire that person. Then they need training. Then that person needs to be on top of their game. Then they need, most people say, hey, you're in the marketing department. Let the marketing department let the marketing department drive you. They don't have any KPIs. There's no scorecard. So they're kind of left out there, you know, wishy-washy, no results. You know, they always talk in flowery campaigns, branding, messaging, but they don't talk results. What we do in our world, because if we're driving revenue, then we can talk results. And all we need to do is remind the owner of the business that we are the results-driven supplier or provider. You know, instead of hiring one person, what if we gave you 5 people to do this thing and really crank this up, right? You know, to me, that makes a lot more sense than hiring a person who may or may not know what they're doing. And at the same time, you're not going to really see any results for at least 3 to 6 months, right? Depending on what they do, because most of them don't know how to run campaigns. They've never run a campaign. They've never managed a campaign. They don't know how to do media buying. So they're going to direct somebody else to do that for you. And so now you're doubling up employees, right? So that's the other thing you want to take into consideration. So with that, I want to thank you for being on the call. We'd love to know your biggest takeaway from the call. If you can just type in the chat, biggest takeaway from today would be great. If you can just type it in the chat. Biggest takeaway. Just type it in the chat. I know there's a whole bunch of people here. We're doing some really cool stuff. Biggest takeaway from the chat. In the chat. No takeaways. You learned nothing today. Scott says keep in front of people. Absolutely, always. Use a resource partner. Follow-up is 80% of the sales. Follow-up, yep. Follow-up habits make 80% of the results. Absolutely, follow-up is king, right? This is where the money's made. This is where most people fall down. You make the money in your follow-up, in that process. That's where you crush it. Pre-consultation follow-up, yes. Sell it as a service. Yeah, you can sell it as a service. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sales conversion is very, very cool. The pre-consultation follow-up call, awesome. All right. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you hopping on here. If you go to, I'm just going to get back to sharing my screen. If you go to consultingunleashed.com/go, if you know of anybody who should be on these calls learning, please do share this with those people. We've put up a new mini course there. If you haven't got a hold of it, go and grab the mini course. It's a 6-step process, a little bit more clarification on getting some ideas. If you haven't grabbed it, you can go to consultingunleashed.com/go. All these videos are going to be on YouTube. All these videos are in the Consulting Unleashed Facebook group. If you're not in there, make sure you go and join that particular group. It is free to join the group. Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate the thank you. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's call. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of new stuff. Take care, everybody. Good luck. Get results. Follow up your deals. Close the sales. Go and listen to the other trainings. Apply what you've learned. Get some feedback here. At the end of the day, we are all looking to grow as we can. Make sure you reach out to a friend, associate, or colleague at least per day. Have a positive conversation and make it happen. Take care, everybody.